Good morning. Namaskaram. Hello, hello, beautiful beings. We are back, and I want to invite you to close your eyes for this moment. Yeah, please close your eyes, and I'm going to read the message for today. As I had a look into this message yesterday with Roger, and it is profound and very, very clear. And I think there's nothing much more to say than this message. January 11. Your story is unique and valuable. It is unique because no other soul shares precisely your story. It holds the utmost value for you. Your story is comprised of everything your past holds, including all that has occurred for you, happened to you, everything you have done, every person you have met, and every word you have spoken. All of it has been and always will be perfect. Your only job then is to seek to know the perfection of your story. Any aspect of your particular story that you attempt to ignore, dismiss, or judge will cause you in some difficulty. Begin with the information and wisdom that your story holds. Wilhelm. And let's keep the eyes closed, and let's all together take a few energizing deep belly breaths. So breathe into your belly, exhale out and release. Deep inhale into the belly, exhaling slower than before, very slow exhale, and one more inhale into the belly. Slowly exhale and ground the message into your physical reality. Enjoy this channeling session. Yeah, we are very, very grateful that you are here. I am personally very grateful that you chose to incarnate and that you share the space with you and with us right now, right here in this present moment in time, as you are very, very important for this current ascension that we're moving through in a very, very rapid and accelerated speed. We all feel it. Let's stay together, right? Let's keep the momentum in this community up, support each other, listen to each other, and help each other with the gifts that our souls bring. So let's enjoy, and Roger, take him away.
Thank you so much. And we are so pleased you're here. And as we always say, we have waited for you your entire life. Now, you're going to understand that today on such a greater, deeper level than you ever have before, because there are many of you here who have never heard us before. You didn't understand. You didn't even know why you were clicking the button to register, but you will know today. And we couldn't have planned this any better. When we had the lovely Yarner read that message, that's exactly what we wanted. He didn't know that because we didn't tell him beforehand, but that message is the one that we wanted you all to understand. As we have said, you exist in the world now during a time of great restructuring, and that's what we've called it. You're changing everything, and the way that you change everything is by deciding to love who you are. Now, that message that we gave you on this date in 2012, which many of you couldn't understand, how could that have happened? How could they had given us this message and we're listening to it today, and there's this wonderful new moon that gives you each the opportunity to start to undo all the old and to love who you are and to start to chart a new path. That's what this is about. That's what a new moon is always about, but it's much more powerful now because your world is moving. Now, we've done several things to get you prepared, so to speak, for this time so you could accept what we have given you, because we've given you a complete philosophy, and it's called your life operating instructions, because you cannot take your old self into your new world, and you can't manifest your new world unless you're willing to let go of the old stuff. And what we're talking about is all of your generational beliefs, ideas, anything that might have gone on before that told you you were limited. You are not. You are powerful, eternal, spiritual beings, which is why we've given you things that have shown you over years how that happens. Now, when you go back to our messages on any advice for today, you will see that on January 9th, we had our being get up in the middle of the night and write this actually for you because we gave you messages over several years to just to give you the idea how you evolve. You do it over your linear time. We don't have we're not limited by linear time, which is why we can give you things in this manner. And the other thing we want to explain, when we are doing these sessions, our being is not here. We want you to understand you each have the ability to operate in different dimensions. And because he's been practicing this for so long, as we've called it, he can bring this in and he can interpret our information to give it to you. And that's what happens for all of you. And this is what has happened in the work that we have given you. You each come into the world to evolve. And that is, you do that when you move through everything that was limited before. There's no one that has more than you. There's no one more important than you. You just keep figuring it out. So it's an eternal journey that you're on. But this one is much larger. This is why we've really laid it out because we wanted more of you to understand. And what we're going to do today, because there's been a struggle that has been with our being. As we've said, he doesn't remember what happens when we're doing these sessions. And we've asked many of you to remind him to listen, but many of you don't do that either. But that was purposeful because what we did is we had him go back this past week or 2 weeks and find messages that we have given you a year, 2 years, 3 years ago almost, so that now you listen to it and you'll understand it more. And we're so pleased that we're giving him more validation because the thing that most of you lack is validation. You just don't believe who you are. The main thing that humans deal with as you move through your physical life experience is fear and doubt. And we've given you all of that. This is why we had our being write a book on fear, because we knew that at this time in your world, during this great change, many of you would be experiencing fear. But it's really helpful when you decide to embrace it, you see, because then you move. Many of you do not move into the next level of who you're meant to become until you start to become really afraid, until things start to fall apart, until you're broke, until things are just, that's what happens. Now, we're saying that because that's most of your society, and you will see that in your world. Now, we know that that's not you because you wouldn't be listening to us. It's just deciding when you're going to believe in yourself. It's just deciding when you're going to love who you are. See, the wonderful thing that happens that you'll start to discover is that this crazy period as you're looking at in your world is purposeful. You wanted it. You wanted to be here to experience it because it's going to cause you to love yourself. It's going to cause you to prosper because that's the life you're supposed to have. There's no human that's born that's supposed to suffer or to struggle or any of that, but you do accept things that you're going to move through because that's a generational evolution, so to speak. And we've called it ascension. We said we've given you an ascension guide. You all move through it. You just don't understand it at times. Ascension means that you move through what was limited and go closer to the light. We wanted you to bring in more light and love into your world because that's what's going to be the change. But what you're witnessing now is many, many people all over your planet who said, no, we don't want to do that. We're going to stay here and we're going to keep being angry. We're going to keep fighting about old stuff that doesn't matter anymore. This is why we gave you that message. See, because many of you are not owning the things that you've moved through because you've judged them. You think you did something wrong or you screwed this up and you made up. No, you just took on things that you wanted to evolve through. That's how it works. You evolve through those limitations or the mistakes you believe you've made, and then you start to experience the love of who you are. Everything that we have given you is about bringing you back to the love of yourself, because that's the most powerful thing. The only energies that will exist and remain in your world are those of love. And the only energies that exist and remain in your spiritual evolution is that of love. Anything else is just something you made up or you're still holding on to. And that would be anger, fear, and doubt. And those are the things that you move through in your generational movement, let's say. And that is what is occurring now. But what we did is we laid out things as you've never had anything like this. We have given you work that no one else has given you because no one else has existed like this being, which is why we gave you that message, because it's the same for you. You come into the world with a unique life plan that you're meant to live. And you know that you're doing that when you're abundant, when you're prospering, when you're loving yourself. But it's a journey. And we thought that we gave you a being who moved through the journey and you could see, and we keep talking about this, he's 73 years old. and he's more vital than he's ever been. And we just did something else. We had him have all his blood work done. We've talked about this before because we want you to see what is possible in terms of healing. He's had all sorts of horrible things that have happened in his life in terms of physical healings and all of that, but he's moved through them. But he did that with this work. That's what we wanted you to understand. And it was challenging and horrible for him, which is why we said today, you must own your life purpose. Well, we're saying that to each of you, but he hasn't done it fully either. But we did something else. We had members in the program give him a little more encouragement. You all need encouragement. The only thing any of you are looking for is approval, acceptance, and acknowledgement. That's all. That's the general goal. So when you have that, then you start to move more. So because they said, Roger, you can't quit because you're giving us so much, you have to keep going. Well, that's exactly what he's going to do, and which is why we planned this for today. See, because you each have to move now. The energies are just challenging. So when we got him up the other night, just before the 9th of January, we said, please write this, please, and give them because they need a boost. We said you could use a boost today because we wanted to up level your energy because we knew that it was going to look a little ugly the next day. Well, that's how you would interpret it because we said the United States would lead the way in this restructuring, and there was so much turmoil that started to come up that next day. We wanted you to understand. Now it's happening in other countries as well. It's because this is a global reset, as many have called it. We've called it a restructuring because we want you to understand that that occurs when you decide to restructure yourself. When you understand that you each come in and collect, you create the world collectively. It is no one person that has more ability or talent. You put that together and then you manifest the world. And the world that you will manifest now will be one that you're choosing at this moment. What you're seeing in your world right now is what you've already created. Yes, you have done that. You've manifested that. You didn't do it consciously because it happened before. It happened through your ancestors. It happened through all of those who came before. But you're here now to do more than that. We gave you a message and we said your ancestors are watching with curiosity. That means that they want to see if you're going to do something more than what they could do. Even last week, we had our being do something which was really challenging for him because there was something about the Civil War. So you each will have things that are pertinent to you, that be this journey, this particular incarnation that you're living. And so he saw something. They said, oh, well, the Civil War could have been negotiated. And he knew that was not possible. Because, see, if the Civil War had been negotiated, that means some of his relatives would have still been slaves. See, these are the things that you're going to have to think about. And you're going to have to think about also, these are the choices that you each are going to make, but you make the choices collectively. And you're moving through a period now where you're deciding globally which people are most important to live, who should have a great life. But see, you make that decision by how much you decide to love yourself. We really want you to get that because, see, there's a collective energy that you all create. No one person is doing it. You just have given away your power for so many eons. We're saying that because this is not happening in an instant. What is going on in your world now is purposeful, and you all exist now, those who would hear us and decide to pay attention, to have a great time, to love yourself, and to move through everything else. Now, you will hear in the messages in the sessions that we had our being find and repost, because you'll find them on his YouTube channel, and they were from a year or 2 years or more ago, and you'll hear them now. But we said that what you're doing is moving through your fear and doubt. That's what we wanted to have you do, because when you do that, you'll have such a different world. Now, we will tell you that you have to operate within the realms of your movements of your planets and your galaxies, and that's what's happening now. And we've also said that this period is going to extend through this year. Now, in 2025, it's going to look a lot different, but you've got to get through this year, which is why we said we wanted people to stay in our work for at least another year. Because when you come together with like-minded people who know that you want to be loved, that know you want to see a world that is prosperous, then you will create that. But we need more of you. And that's what we did. And so what we wanted to do today is to get some questions from you, but we also want to bring in, because we've told our being, we don't want you to sell our work anymore because it doesn't work. It doesn't work if you have to sell it, because then people are not, because that's what you've all done. You've taken programs, which is why we've had the bulk of our program. We had them change the name to your last development program because there's nothing else you would need. It's hard to get you to believe that, but that is exactly it. Because all you're doing is working with your consciousness. Doesn't matter what thing you're doing, and we just want you to do something. It doesn't, we're not telling you to come with us. That's not, if that doesn't feel calling for you, doesn't matter. We just want you to do something that would cause you to move through your restrictions and limitations and come to love yourself, because that is what's going to change your world, and that's going to manifest this new world, which is the fifth dimension of that. And we want to talk about that because many of you use that term and you don't understand what it means. And we're going to explain why we gave you our work, because that's where we're moving you to. The fifth dimension means that you move to a new level of understanding where you are all equal and the same and you have oneness. You don't get there right away. You can see that in your world, but we've given you a path and a plan that you could follow and do that. And we've told our being, we gave you something that could transform your world. And that was so challenging for him to say, and he ran from it and he couldn't make a decision about it. And now we're having him make a decision. We had some other person waiting for him to decide whether or not he was going to be on their website and offer his services. And we said, no. You're going to finish this and you're going to do the thing that gives you the most joy. And what is giving him the most joy now is working with the members in this program and having these group calls, because that's where you all ascend. That's where you all move to this next level. And so each of you have to decide that you're going to start loving yourselves and doing the thing that was given to you. You may have many different things that you have done in your life, as our being did, but we took them all away from him, which was really challenging. He didn't understand why that was happening, as many of you haven't, because your higher selves will sometimes guide you in ways that seem disruptive because you're not paying attention, because you're not listening to the direction that you've been given, because you all have it. We just reinforce it. So when you listen to us, you're just remembering that you're here to do something great, that you're here to be a great person and wonderful and being abundant. All of you. There are no separations, no insignificant people. Now, the only thing that happens is that you stop. You give up. That's all. You just think things are too difficult and challenging. And many of you in your world are looking at that now, and many of them might leave. They might leave physical existence because it's way too much for them to handle, but that's okay. That was their choice. None of you ever leave physical existence until it's your time. And we're showing you that, which is why we keep talking about his age, because he's the most vital as he's ever been, and being born with all these illnesses and diseases from the time he came out of the womb. So it is possible for you to heal anything. It is possible for you to even heal your world when more of you come together and decide to love who you are. That's all that it is. And it seems so crazy that your contribution that could be the most immense that you would make in this world would be to love yourself. Oh, wow, that doesn't even seem possible. And it is. And again, all we can do is give you the examples. We cannot force you to believe. We've done something else. And when you listen to the recordings, you will hear all of it. We've talked about how much are being hid from this because he didn't want to accept that he had been given this. Many of you do that because you're afraid. And all of your money problems, here's the same thing. The money is energy. We want to point this out. And when you start to own who you are and that identity, your life purpose, you'll see that flow starts to shift. And this is what we're doing for him today, because see, he needed the proof first. You all need that proof because you don't understand that you're creating something. We're going to say this because there are many of you who have been moved from other careers and different things, and you didn't understand why you were doing it. And you're creating something new. There's so many of you, we can feel you. And so there's so many of you are creating something new and you're doubting it. We're saying this, don't doubt, just keep going. And keep developing. It will come about as you don't contradict yourself, because that's what you all do. You come into the world and you keep contradicting yourselves. You say, oh, God told me I could do anything. God told me I could have I can do. And then you say, no, I can't. And so once you stop the contradictions, you start to manifest something very different. But we understand that you're going to look at things happening. You're looking at your wars now and you're thinking, wait a minute, is the world going to fall apart? Well, no, it doesn't have to if you start to love yourself. Oh, that doesn't make sense. Yes, it does. It just matters how many of you decide to do that. That's all. And this is what we have given you. And the reason we chose this date, because look at the date that we gave you on the January 11th, 2012. We love using all kinds of connections so you understand you're always connected. You've never been alone, each of you. And so we used that date because it was number 8. That's infinity. That's completion for many of you. Many of you've had lifetimes in this in this realm that you're kind of done. But anyway, that's a number. We wanted you to understand that, and then to bring it back today on this date, which is in 2024, which is another eight, number eight. So you have a great opportunity now. We just wanted you to understand the synchronicity, and many of you are starting to see that synchronicity because you're having things pop up in your experiences that you didn't know that seem accidental. There are no accidents. There are no coincidences. It's just when you decide to listen and pay attention and take action. That's all. And your higher selves are always sending you clues, and those show up in terms of what you call coincidence. That they aren't. It's just you remembering your path. Just you remembering why you were here. That is all that it is. Now we've done something else today because see, our being has been hiding so much, so we're going to just give you this because many of you don't listen very long anyway. So this would be enough for you to understand. We're going to take questions because he must leave right after this to do a talk on a radio show because we said, okay, you have to start be getting out of the way. This is what we're saying to all of you. Whatever you can do to get out of your own way. We just had him see something before he came on from Eleanor Roosevelt, the former first lady who he admires so much. And she said, do something that scares you every day. That's all. Because see, that's what holds you back is that fear. Am I going to be enough? And what I'm going to do is that going to yes. You were each given something unique and it's valuable. This is what we wanted you to understand. But the judgment, see, the last line that we gave you in that message is the most important. Any aspect of your life experience that you judge, that you ignore, that you dismiss in some way, was going to cause you to have some difficulties. See, because you're not understanding the wisdom that was given to you because of everything that you experienced and everything that you accepted before you came into this physical plane. Because you have different existences, some of you understand that. But on this particular incarnation, you decided to be on the planet because you knew that your existence would make a great contribution if you could come to love yourself. That's all we wanted to say. And so now we want to open it up for questions. And if we have any of those here who are doing our work, we'd love to hear because we need to give our being a little more confirmation. So we would like to open it up for whatever questions any of you might have now.
Okay, standing by, pressing buttons here. Okay, the Q&A portion is now live. And what this means is that now you can use the Q&A button to ask your question. I will ask it on your behalf. Please go ahead and submit your questions, any question that you might have. Can be multiple questions. Unusually, we must end on time. So I'm going to do my best to make sure that we have just enough questions because usually we are here to answer all of them, but we're going to do our best to make sure that all questions that make it through are answered. And here we go. First question
First
here.
of all, we want to say this. We must apologize to Stan because what we do is we give Roger so much information and then we push him and then then he pushes Stan because we said we want at least 100 people registered. So we made that point, but that happened because we just wanted more of you to understand and to get this information out because that becomes a bigger. When you understand the ripple effect, you will know why we have done this. Okay, we're ready.
Yeah, I don't know how Roger deals with Wilhelm on a daily basis because Wilhelm tends to drive me crazy sometimes. Here we go. First question. Today is my birthday. I'm a double Capricorn. My life path number is 6, and today's number is 11. In light of all of that, do you have a message for me? What is holding me back?
The message that we had on the screen. And we know this because we've spoken to many of you this date on 11, and even Sean, we don't know if that's you, but we said you know more than many. And so that's the thing that's been bothering you so much. You do understand this, and you do know that and then the Capricorn thing is just so brilliant because see, this period is about building a foundation. This is about now taking that step into the building the firm foundation of who you are. And that's It is what you have been given that you're starting to. The only thing you're doing right now, and you ask what's holding you back, is the fear of what it is, just as our being did. And this is why we're showing you once you start and keep going, and we just give you the support to do that, then it starts to manifest. You're never given anything that is not meant to be fulfilled. It's just that you doubt it. That's all. And so this is a perfect day, and this is why we wanted you here on this date because, well, as we've said, many of you have seen this. We've given you messages. The messages that we have given you will resonate for most of you on any particular day. But when we gave you something that was on your birthday, it is far more meaningful for you. And many of you have felt that. Many of you even cry when we've read it to you because that awareness comes about, and that's what's happening for you. So thank you for being here, and we know you're, as we said before, we know that you're going to do some really great things. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy birthday. Recently, I awoke one morning to find myself in an unusual energetic experience. There were colors and sounds and whirling energy. It seemed to be multidimensional. What did I experience? Was it the seashells I've been working with? Was it the Lemurian energy? Was it some sort of upgrade? Can you give me any advice on next steps?
Yes. It's all of those things. That's exactly what it was. You each will awaken in different ways. Some of you will have visuals, some of you will have feelings. And we want to say this, many of you are having many physical feelings that you're moving through now that have been confusing, you didn't understand, and have caused you a little bit of grief and concern. However, all of them are moving into a higher understanding of who you are. And so your particular symbols, and you were given those, they're not accidental. This is why we're saying that each of you will have something that's very unique. And so not everyone's going to have seashells. Not everyone's going to have that. This is how your guides decided to awaken and give you more encouragement. So your answer is yes to all of those things that you said. And so now just keep trusting it. Because see, what happens is you start to see things that are outside of your realm of understanding. And we gave you a message that we said, the more you understand, the less you know. And what we said that you have these limited perceptions. And so when things start showing up that are outside of the norm, you think they're crazy or they don't make sense. And that's no, it's just that you're coming to a higher level of consciousness and understanding, and you're always doing that. And so thank you for that, because you've given more people the permission, which you all do when you own who you are. You give more people the permission to own their unique path and how it might be showing up. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that. And wow, I think that's a new record for us. The Q&A submission is now closed. We have all of the questions. We will do our best to get to all of them before the hour is up. Uh, so let's go ahead and move right on. How do I talk to my fear so that I can understand and release it?
First of all, we're so thank you. Thank you for that, because just acknowledging it is brilliant. Just the acknowledgement. Many of you try to put it away and you try to think, I'm not afraid, I'm not going to, and you try to put it away. No, the fear is showing up for you specifically. We're just going to talk about this because you have been denying some aspect of yourself. And the fear is showing up to make you uncomfortable. That's all. So that you start to take steps to own your next version, the next place that you're meant to go in your life. That's why it's showing up. And so that's why it's been getting you so much. And again, this is why we had our being write the book on fear, because we've given you all so many messages on that. Those are the things that hold you all back. So please do not judge yourself. And we are so grateful and we love you so much for acknowledging that you have it. You cannot change anything you don't acknowledge. And this is what is occurring in your world now. You find many people trying to disown the things that have happened in your past, or just pretend that it didn't occur, or cover up your histories. We gave you another message in 2012 about your history, because that is what you're all moving through now in your world. So, but thank you so much for acknowledging your fear, and now just decide to move through it and love yourself. Thank you.
I would like to know if I'm heading in the right direction with finding more sources of income.
If you believe you are, you are. And so, oh, thank you for that. Your sources of income always show up when you decide to own your life purpose. That's all. There's no more than that. And so, but now for you, we're feeling this because there's been a strain there on your finances because of this. And so now you're being pushed, which is why we called you here today, is to own your story. And see, when you do that, you'll find those unique things about you that you're meant to produce, that you're meant to bring into this world. This time, all of you are, but they're just going to be in your unique way. So that is going to be the next step for you. You are moving in the right direction. And as you keep going, you will find the sources magically. It feels that way, but it's never that. It's the universe beginning to agree with you. That's all. And say, yes, this is what you're meant to do. And if you move in this direction, then the abundance that you seek is going to start to become open. That's all. And it happens all the time. And so it's happening with so many of you, but it's going to be more now because more of you will start to move. Unfortunately, the fear is going to cause you to move. And we wish that you would be motivated by your love of yourself, but sometimes the fear will help you to do that. But this is where you are now, and you're moving in. You're going to find these new avenues that seem really wonderful for us. So just keep trusting it. It'll show up. Thank you.
My husband and I are considering separation. Would
Mm.
this be the best thing for our family?
If you make it that. You can make it that. This is the other thing. We've talked about this. Many of you we've said this particular time you might be experiencing some difficulties in your relationships of all manners of people in your close relationships, your families, your friends, people that you've been with, because you each are evolving to the next portion of who you're meant to become, and that's a unique life path. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes that might even mean your spouses or your significant others that is no longer serving your life journey. You each have your own individual life path, and sometimes you have these bumps in the road. Some of you get married and divorced many times because you're only attempting to find yourself. However, what we're feeling there, would it be the right thing for your family? Because we're feeling that there are kids that are involved here in some way or other people. Make sure that everyone understands. That's all. Be as honest and open as you possibly can. We've used this example before when we talked about Gwyneth Paltrow, the actress, who many of you know, and her former husband, Chris. When they decided to get divorced, they did a conscious uncoupling. And now they have this wonderful blended family with their new spouses and all the kids are getting along. Do it consciously. And that's how it will be the right thing. But just feel if it's the path that you are meant to take and to do it together because you loved each other at one time. Remember that. And remember that you just want the love to keep going for each of you. And sometimes separation allows you to love yourself more. Thank you.
I've been doing meditation and I've been seeing a vision of a deer. What does that mean?
It means that you're being given some signal. And so someplace something's going to show up. You're going to have to interpret that. We can't interpret your dreams. We can't interpret what's going on. You can, however. And so you're either going to see it in your experience, you'll see it in a movie, you'll see it in something that will awaken you to something. You all will have those. We call them glimpses, and they will show up differently for each of you. So just keep asking questions. That's all. Why am I seeing this? What's this supposed to tell me? And those are the questions that we really want all of you to answer instead of why is this happening to me or something terrible. No, be curious. When you are curious about why certain events are occurring or showing up in your life, then you start to find more answers. And so we'll see what the deer will mean for you, but it is awakening you to something. And we will say this. It's going to be funny because you're going to see it showing up in your life experience quite soon, actually, and it'll give you a greater clarity. Okay, thank you.
I feel like I'm disappearing into darkness. How
Mm.
does this translate into a life I wish to live? You said I would leave this cocoon and take flight. The
Mhm.
information in my experience does not reflect my experience, no matter how much I intend. What does this void liminal space and I, what is this void liminal space and when does it end? If I'm reading this correctly. And when am I reborn?
When you decide. It's a process. We've said that. This is the thing that we want all of you to understand. We have shown you so many examples where we had our being. He's 73 years old. He started receiving with everything that he's gone through. When he started receiving us, that was in 1988, as we've said many times. And he didn't want any of you to see it because he was doing a journey. He was doing a journey that he could give to all of you because he wanted to understand how this works. He wanted to understand this ascension journey. He wanted to understand how you get to loving yourself, but he can't do it for you. He can only give you the information, which is what we have given you. And so, but you have to decide what is right for you. Many of you will like give up because you think something terrible is happening, except you're just not asking the correct questions. Why am I experiencing this? What is this supposed to tell me? As we've said, when he first started receiving us, it was shocking to him, and we've said this to many of you that self discovery can be frightening or shocking at times, and many of you are experiencing that now because you're moving into aspects of yourself that you don't understand, and then you start offering resistance. That resistance can show up in terms of illness and things in your bodies, or aches and pains, and you're going to all have so much more of that now because the planet is your universe is moving in different ways that you've never experienced. None of you have been through or experienced a time like this on your planet. So you have to decide that you're going to do something every day, and this is why we have given you our work in every day, because we want you to stay together and keep doing something. You must decide that you're going to do something each and every day that gives you joy, no matter how difficult that is. Because see, that's the other thing. Many of you have talked yourself out of joy because you think you should be punished, rather than understanding you accepted certain experiences and life paths that would cause you to be a little uncomfortable and fearful so that you could break through. That's all. But you break through by loving yourself, and you have to you have a cognitive dissonance that's been there that you have to work through, which is why all of our work is about mindset. It's about changing your mind a bit at a time so that you can accept why you've had this life path. That's all. And so you just have to decide, because what we keep hearing is that you are setting up restrictions and limitations that you can't break through because you think it's your reality, rather than understanding that you can change it when you decide to do it. That's all. That's for each of you. Thank you.
Should I back up my recordings or am I covered?
We don't know. we can't. We are not in your life path, and so okay, we're so glad you mentioned that, because you can, your higher self is going to decide whether or not that's going to be pertinent. We've told you the story where our being had a whole set 2 YouTube channels that are completely gone. And all of the content that he was there is gone. One, he had over 200,000 subscribers, and all that content is just gone. We said, you don't need that anymore because you're creating a new life. And then it happened again. He had another channel that just went away. We said, well, no, that's because that one went away because that content wasn't really where you were, because you have more now. See, things are directed for you at times. And so, but if you're going to go into, and we're going to talk about this, you have a little bit of fear. Why would you ask that question? Because you think, oh, if I lose this, I'm going to lose myself. If all this material stuff leaves me, then I'm going to be no one. That's the underlying question that you have. Instead of trusting the integrity of your life experience, knowing that if your recordings are meant to be backed up, then you will do that, and the universe will help you accomplish that. If they're not and they go away, then that means you're supposed to do something new. But go with the flow. Thank you so much.
I have been actively working with clearing the energy and beliefs I have around money for years now. I can actually feel the blocks I have around money, and it makes me cry. I
Hmm.
know money is energy, but I don't know what to do with it or what to do with that info.
Mm.
So I just go back and forth my mind, making sure all day that I'm thinking positively about money. I feel like I'm going insane talking to myself in my head all day about how to look at money in a positive way and to watch my words. It's getting exhausting and overwhelming. Do you have any advice on how to open up the flow of money in my life?
Yes, that's why you're here. It's not about the money. It's about your life purpose. It's not about the money. We said money is everything is energy. The money is energy. And so when you're not willing to own who you are and work through all the old stuff, then there's going to be a blockage of money. That's all, because it's just energy. The flow of money energy is through love. when you come to love who you are and do the thing that you were given, because you were all given something, a path to follow, then it starts to flow. But don't judge yourself, because the other thing we're feeling is because you've been in this loop, and this loop was not yours, by the way. You inherited so much of this. You are carrying about a generational belief in lack, and you inherited that from your ancestors. And this is exactly what we were speaking of. The more of you who can move through that, you start to not only create the lives you want to have, but you contribute to your world in an entirely new way. And this is where you are. So we love that you're investigating this, but your focus has been far too much on the money instead of on the love of who you are. So when you start shifting that, because that's you're using something. This is how many of you use the law of attraction, by the way. You think, if I just think about this thing in this positive way, it's just going to show up. That's not necessarily your life path. Your life path means that you wanted to move through a restriction, and the restriction is always about how much you're willing to love yourself. That's all. And so it's not about the money, and you've been judging yourself. And we want you to release that. First of all, we need all of you to start forgiving yourself, because you all come in with generational patterns that you are meant to release during this time of restructuring in your world. And that's what's going on. So we thank you for bringing that up, because many of you are experiencing that. Our being is experiencing that, which is why we're changing it today. And you will hear that in the other recordings that we had and put up. See, because he couldn't accept this, and this is why we're changing it today. He couldn't tell you that he just healed his entire life and brought in this work that could do that for many others. That was really challenging. And so because of that, he kept the money away from him, because he couldn't say it. Now he can say it, because he's seen the proof also. You will do the same thing. So it's not about the money. It's about you owning who you are and your life purpose. And if you haven't found it, you will soon, because it's going to start to become uncovered. And once you go with that, with your gusto and your full love of yourself, the money flow will start to happen. Thank you.
I have a house for sale that my financial future depends on. Do you see it selling soon? What can I do to get it sold soon?
Well, first of all, you said some incorrect things there. So your financial future does not depend on that house. That is an object that you're using to discover who you are and to own yourself. Physical things in your world, material things, have nothing to do with who you are as a person. But you have placed your being and your importance on that house. That could be a really important clue for you to begin to look at. Start to see it in a new way. Please start looking at, well, what would this house sell for? Who could love this house? And that would be the great thing. Start to look for the love that's in selling this house, rather than your life depending on it, because that never happens. That never occurs. You each will pin your importance on some physical, material things, and it's never about that. It's the essence of who you are as a spiritual, eternal, loving, benevolent being. And so when you place your mind on that, it's much better. But we have this feeling that in the way that you're marketing it, you're not marketing it in a way that you're attracting the correct people. What's important about this house? Why would someone want to live there? What did you experience there? What kind of joy did you have if you lived there? We don't even know if you've done that. However, but what could someone experience? Start thinking about that and start advertising that. Start talking about that a lot more. But the last thing we want to say, you are so much more valuable than that house. So your financial future does not depend on that. It just depends on your resilience and your creativity and how you go about doing this, and do that and as you're doing it, know that what you're doing is moving into more love of yourself, and then the right outcome for all will be revealed. Thank you so much for that.
What is the timeline for the ascension?
It all depends on you. We have said, and we want you to go back and listen. We've said this over and over again for years now. We said the world that you want to see is not guaranteed. You see, because the planets are going to move. All that's happening. We can show you we can show you the configurations. And if you look at a lot more science, and as we've said, we had our being said, you're going to marry science, spirituality, and human potential. And so if you put all that together, you begin to understand more. But this particular time on your planet, in this shift, you will move through some energies that will be really dynamic over the full year of 2024. And in 2025, you'll see a release and a change, and then you'll be in a entirely new period for 30, 40 years. It's going to be a long time. It'll be a very different thing. You just have to move through this period, you see. And this is why we're doing our work, and this is why we've given you everything, and this is why we're stepping it up, and why we had to move our being into stepping it up a little bit more as well. So our intention is to cause this wonderful, beautiful, magnificent world to come about, and we're going to work on it through all of 2024 so that you all have much better lives. And that sounds like such pipe dreams and ridiculous and utopia, except that it's possible if you start to believe yourselves. Thank you.
I've dealt with an anxiety odor for many years and may have missed a diagnosis, possibly ADHD. I am 50 and might still get tested. What do you make of these disorders? Thank you.
You've been given a gift. That's all. And see, we're going to flip everything around that any of you have had that you're judging yourself for something or you don't discover. We told you our being didn't discover he had ADHD until he was 70. And that was really challenging for him until we told him, well, wait a minute. You couldn't have done this if you had anything else. You couldn't have done it if you did not have this neural divergent way of being. And that's for all of you. So you are coming about something. You have something. Oh, this is wonderful because we can feel it. Um, there's something about your existence and your presence and something you've been given that you can quite understand. And this is why it's being revealed to you that you might have this. And the anxiety has been you not accepting. That's all that it is. And so we've given you much on anxiety too. So, we'll have to show you some of that. You could probably go and search for that on our site too. But the anxiety that you're feeling is just not embracing this next aspect. And now you're being exposed, and we would love for you to get tested, by the way, because if it turns out positive, that is not a bad thing. And this is why we want all of you to let go of your judgments. We had to take our being back to showing him the people like a Carl Jung who probably existed and had that same thing. But look at what he's brought to your world in terms of Jungian psychology. And there are many other beings. We had him research all of those to give him clarity and comfort. Otherwise, he could not have done this. You are the same way. And we love that. We're loving that you're looking at it. And please, stop judging yourself for having the anxiety. The only thing that was going on, you accepted a life path that caused you to have the anxiety because when you decided to let go of it, you would start to love yourself more. And then you could give that confirmation and example to so many others. And we love you for that. So thank you.
Yeah, I was diagnosed with ADHD at age 39, and it has been my greatest discovery and my greatest gift. So go forward with that. Okay, next question. I listen to Wilhelm over and over, and it helped me so much. Roger gives so much of his energy to the participants, but I didn't find my purpose yet. I find it hard to not work hard for it.
Mm. That's your purpose to let go of that one. they're generational belief that you all have accepted. And so the working hard thing is what many of you have done. We had our being having Akashic Records reading done 3 years ago, a little more than that now. And he was told, take the path of least resistance. He said, oh no, I can't do that. That means I would have to have fun. That means I would have to go in the direction of what I think I'm being called to. No, I can't do that. And he fought it forever. You're doing the same thing. And so just understand that you are being guided. Yeah, we love the fact that you go back and listen to us because we have our being do the same thing. It doesn't make sense to many of you because he has to go back and he listens to what we have given him. He says, this is crazy. Wait a minute, it came out of my mouth. Why didn't I know it? Why didn't I incorporate it then? None of you do. That's what happens. And so he's receiving us from a different dimension and he has to go back and listen to it as well. And every time he does, he feels better. And you're doing the same thing. But what we want you to let go of is the idea that you need to work hard because there's something right in front of you that you just haven't been acknowledging, that you haven't been accepting, and it will come about. Practice patience and persistence. We've told you, we've given you our 3 Ps, and those are the things that each of you can use to change anything in your life. When you're practicing something incorrectly and been in your thoughts, then you just have to practice new thoughts. Then you have to be patient with yourself because you're going to uncover things that you didn't see before and cause you to get a little bit frustrated. But then when you stay persistent with it, then those things begin to manifest because you're not disrupting the energy that's being given to you to manifest something. And so that's where you are. And please don't judge what's going on. You're still finding it. And it will we've told you before. We said it a few years ago. We said, oh, well, our being is now walking better than he could. He's finding his purpose and he's 70 something years old. Doesn't matter. Just understand that you're moving in that place and it'll show up when it's the right time in your life path. You each have different ones, and the timing of it always shows up when it's right and correct for you. We just encourage you to keep opening to that. That's all. It's up to you to allow it to happen. So thank you.
I just want to tell I just want to tell Wilhelm, Roger, and all the others in this course that we are truly appreciative of your help. Without you, we would not have been here. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you so much. And we must say that Roger needs to hear this because he's hidden for so long and for years, and we've even talked about him being the reluctant mystic, which he had to let go of. And so the encouragement that he gets from all of you is what is the thing that has kept him going, which is why he's going to take the next steps now to continue this work, as he knows this is what's coming up in your world now, and why it's so important. But we cannot tell you how valuable you have all been. And you say to him all the time, oh, you're doing all of this, but not understanding how much validation you are giving him. You each do that. There are none of you who come, most of you do not have this full confidence and belief in yourselves when you're moving through your life. So the confirmation you are doing now, and this period is about being collective. Okay, about being encouraging one another. It's all of you, because you're going to see so many others, as we said, who are not going to understand any of this, and those are not the ones that we can bring into this work, because again, it's going to diminish the energy of what we attempt to bring to your world now. That's what's happening. So just understand you are all doing the same thing, and we thank you so much for giving him that encouragement. Thank you.
Could you elaborate more on the energy of number 8, as this year's number is 8 and my life path number is 8? The energy of this year feels like it's go time, but it feels like I would like to hear more from you. Thank
It
you.
is. Thank you. It can be interpreted so many ways. We love using all the things. Each of you will interpret things with numerology and astrology in different ways. But we love using the entire compass of this, which is why we gave you this message, the first message, on January 11th of 2012, because you add that up, you get an 8. Many of you will have completed something. We use it in ways of infinity, understanding that, number one, that you are infinite beings and you're just moving through an aspect of your life path now, and the infinite intelligence that you all carry is coming about. But 8 also means a completion sometimes. Completion means that you have finished a part of this physical lifetime journey, and now you're ready to take the next one. And this is why this year is so important. As we told you, and we can give you so many other things that show the configurations of your planets that can help cause you to understand more. When we said the United States would lead the way, they were influenced by planet Pluto, and we said, and Pluto return is happening now in 1776 when they signed their, did their constitution declaration and all of that, and the things they said they were going to do. It hasn't happened yet. So now you're having a reckoning. A reckoning means that you look at the things that you could not complete then, and then you start to do something new. That's why this year, 2024, is very vital for all of you, because as we've said, you're creating a new world, and you'll decide what that world will be by how happy you decide to become, how much you decide to love yourselves. That's all. Thank you.
Is this my first Earth experience? I feel like I struggle with feeling value.
We can't answer that. and you don't need to answer it either. See, you're asking that question about dimensions that you don't completely understand. It doesn't matter how many times you've been here. The only thing that matters is what you're doing now. And if those things come up, listen, Roger had no idea of any of this, even when he started receiving us. He didn't have any idea that this was going to be, and he didn't have any, and he even resisted hearing his ancient history. And then we told him that's all you need right now. We don't even want him to investigate certain other things. And so you can't ask that question. All you can ask is, what am I meant to do now? And if any information from any past life or any past incarnation that you might have experienced is pertinent for this experience, then it will be revealed, or you'll bump into it as we think of it. But it doesn't matter. Let go of that. Just ask questions. What am I meant to do now in this lifetime? That's all. Thank you.
Are all my physical challenges releasing, allowing the natural breath cycle? Health feels like it's worsening. So when does this improve? And when will I wake up happy and able to enjoy my existence?
Thank you for that question. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit more, because our being has not spoken of this often, because he doesn't want to give you, he feels, he goes back and forth. He doesn't want to give you false hope, and he doesn't want to interrupt your natural progression, because you each have one. We will just tell you what is possible. He's been through many physical ailments, more than any of you can possibly imagine, and they're all gone. The only thing he couldn't do is grow back the part of his foot that he lost. That's all. But it doesn't bother him anymore, because he understands the purpose of that. You each will have physical ailments and or different kinds of things. Not all of you will have them. Many of you have them. And usually they are manifestations of some sort of resistance that is within your being. Now, it may not even be in this lifetime. It may have been things you carried forth from other places. It doesn't matter. But when you let go of them, and this is, we will say this, because it is, you have the ability to heal absolutely anything. And this is the because our being has done that, but he shies away, which is why that message was so important. We said to him that if you withhold and ignore things, you're going to have difficulties, and that's what he's done. But he's going to talk more about the healing thing, because every single healing experience that he had was about him moving through the resistance that he had from coming himself, from owning himself, from letting go of the judgment, the self-judgment. That's all of you. You have that because you've carried it. It's in your DNA. And so you're thinking that your health problems are getting worse, and that's why they're doing that. Start to ask new questions. Why am I experiencing this? What am I supposed to move through that would cause me to love myself? What am I supposed to heal this on the physical level, or am I supposed to heal this in my spiritual level? Whatever, just ask new questions. But stop saying you, because we feel that you think that you somehow have all these things getting worse because you're being punished. No, you accepted something to move through in this lifetime, and as you decide to embrace that, it's going to be beautiful. And we think that some of the more of those physical ailments will start to reside and heal. But you just have to change your consciousness. Everything we've given you is about raising your consciousness to the next level of understanding, or the higher state that you could each access, that is right for your evolutionary journey. And that's what you're on now. Just change that one idea that you have, because we can feel it, that somehow you've been given all these horrible things, and that it's not true. You accepted something to bring forth. Thank you.
Okay, we have one last question and 2.5 minutes to wrap this up. Greetings, beautiful beings of light. Thank you for the opportunity. I've been using from time to time a tarot deck to assist me with my question. Dear Spirit, what is it I need to know today? Any advice? And even though I don't know how to read the cards in that moment, I pay attention throughout the day to see any synchronicity. Is it okay to use the cards until I get direct messages from Spirit?
You're doing both. You're using energy, and those cards. We want you to understand, when you're pulling tarot, you're pulling energy. Okay, there's nothing is accidental. You're just learning to trust yourself and what you're hearing and giving to others. That's all. So keep doing it. You're in the right place, and it feels like you're thinking the cards are a crutch. No, you're using them because they're directing energy. You're just being pulled into it. That's all. And we love that so much, and thank you all. That was a great question. Just keep doing it. Thank you, and we can't tell you how we appreciate all of you. being on the planet at this time, because you came to help bring in this wonderful new world that's going to happen as you start to love yourself. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you everyone for joining us. I'm afraid we must book fairly quickly here, but please join us again in the next channeling session. We'll be here probably in another couple of weeks. If you feel called to join us sooner, you can check us out at 4weekstoyourbestlife.com to work directly with Roger and Wilhelm and sometimes me. Thank you, everyone. Go for it. Have a blessed day, and we will see you when we see you.
I find this work is very powerful. They change a lot very quickly. It's like quite surprising how things are changing for me.
I want to say how grateful I am that you've done this. And the time that you've put through on this is just amazing. And as we get older and we put through something like this into the world, you don't know the benefits of it until years later.
I just want to thank you for the program. Probably a year or two ago, if there was a tough decision to make, especially about money or anything like that, I would let fear and worry guide me away from a decision that might have helped me grow.
I have moved. I have made some positive changes. Hey, good, bad, or ugly, you did it. That's the main thing.
When you say the time is now, and I always appreciate it, because now more than ever, I feel a little bit more satisfied myself, because especially lately, I keep leaving a project not finished.
I love the program. I love the questions, but I think that being aware of everything that's inside of you and bringing it out onto paper, it really does make you step forward in that area.
The way the questions penetrate into your memory and into your past experiences is so unique. Yeah, it really goes deep very, very quickly. I mean, I'm only on day 3, but the way like the questions are presented and the things you read before and the whole steps you go through, probably a lot of people's experiences, but it goes really deep, really, really quickly.
I mean, every day has its difficulties, but like, it's better than it was. You know, I mean, I'm doing more things that I enjoy, and like I find that I personally feel like I'm meant to do my book and everything, and then with the acting, I'm working on all that.
I've been taking so much courses, like especially with this pandemic, I approach different from Tony Robbins, from Bob Proctor, from Jack Canfield, and also I've been following Abraham Hicks, but never really brought me the result that I wanted to do it. So I'm very, this course is very more, I found that I think it's a bit faster.
Roger, I just wanted to say thank you again, because a few years ago I realised that voice coaching wasn't the only thing that I could do, and that I had something else. But I didn't know what it was. I had no idea what it was.
For a limited time, learn more about how Roger can help you step into your best life by going to 4weekstoyourbestlife.com today.